for a bunch of information. And then even if the person doesn't actually make the payment, they've still divulged information.
Gardner says if the message is threatening or urgent, that's your first red flag that something isn't right. Egg prices are hitting record highs ahead of Easter. Industry experts were expecting prices to drop like they did in March, but the high demand is driving prices up. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says a dozen will now cost you $6.23. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Wall Street is still extremely unstable. ABC's Whit Johnson is at the New York Stock Exchange.
Despite the historic so-called relief rally the day before, the S&P has now lost nearly $3.5 trillion over the last 6 days. That's where millions of Americans have their 401ks and retirement accounts. Investors are trying to come to grips with a new sobering reality. The trade war with China appears to be getting worse, and some tariffs are here to stay.
China today announcing its tariffs on American imports will jump to 125% tomorrow. The U.S. is already hitting Chinese imports with a 145% tariff. Your money at this moment, the Dow opened and it is down 138 points right now, which is 1/3% to 39,454. Coming up, it's warm today, maybe even record warm. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time is 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Are you looking to invest in your home, increase its livability, increase its value, increase its curb appeal? Well, doors and windows are a great place to start, and there's no better place to start than Peach Doors and Windows.
Maybe the purpose of your home has changed. Maybe you're an empty nester, or you just want to maximize the view of your home. Bring Peach your wish list. Think about out-of-the-box shapes and sizes. What you can imagine, Peach Doors and Windows can make happen. They can do renovations that other companies simply won't touch.
You can check out all of their 5-star reviews on Google, where customers rate Peach throughout every step of the process. From sales to installation, they will make sure you get exactly what you want. Check out their website at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can give them a call, 801-566-1255. They do free in-home estimates.
Or better yet, check them out in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, or check them out online, peachbuildingproducts.com.
Do you suffer from depression? The Department of Psychiatry at the University of Utah is currently seeking people between the ages of 18 and 65 who have depression to take part in a comprehensive treatment study. The goal of this study is to see if 2 naturally occurring supplements will improve depression in people living at higher altitudes. Participants will take the supplements for 8 weeks, and the study lasts 12 weeks in total. Participants must already be taking an SSRI or an SNRI medication for at least 8 weeks. Compensation will be provided to study participants. Again, if you are between the ages of 18 and 65 and suffer from depression that hasn't responded to usual antidepressants, the University of Utah is conducting a study that may help. For more information or to take part, please call 801-581-3475 or visit altitudedepressionstudy.com. That's 801-581-3475. or altitudedepressionstudy.com.
The weather is absolutely gorgeous. We're in the month of April. There are so many special things that are going on, and Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is the place for that wonderful meal that you have been wanting for a long, long time. Get the family together. Make a date with that person you love at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse with the most delicious steak you have ever had, filet, New York, ribeye, and make sure that you have a chopped salad. That's the favorite for Dee and for me. But their wedge is wonderful as well. And of course, the mashed potatoes, the asparagus, the lobster mac, and of course, save room for a truly decadent dessert. I love the bread pudding. It's time to treat yourself to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Now, if you're catching a little spring skiing in the Park City area, have your meal at Hotel Park City Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Or, of course, downtown Salt Lake City, 275 Southwest Temple.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Len Thomas.
In the Ogden area, a crash southbound 15 may be out of traffic now. Delays are evaporating quickly now, and coming in from Tooele, I-80 eastbound is slow in construction from 7200 west to 5600 west. I-15 is delay-free now, Utah County and Salt Lake Valley, as well as Davis County. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that way. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's going to be a sunny day. Highs will be in the lower 80s. Tomorrow, much of the same. We're on our way there right now. It's 66 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
I can see where neighbors start getting frustrated about pedestrian safety. And there's a neighborhood in Salt Lake City that is taking pedestrian safety into their own hands, literally DIYing a crosswalk and a roundabout. It's in the Granary District, and we caught this story in the Salt Lake Tribune. And after we read the Tribune article about what is going on there, Dave jumped in the car and he drove, about 5 minutes, from Broadcast House down to this area. It's in Salt Lake City, to check out these two different DIY projects that it looks like residents have taken into their own hands. So what did you see when you got out there?
First of all, it's incredible. It's incredible because there must have been so much paint used with this roundabout specifically. Which one do you want me to start with?
Start with the roundabout.
The roundabout,
because
that
I've
was
seen a photo of it, and it's not like built up like a typical roundabout where there's, maybe a tree's in the middle of it. It's a circle with the curb and all that. This is looks like it's painted into the road, but you were out there.
It's exactly what it is. In fact, when I was walking up to it, the first thing I wanted to see is traffic paying any attention to this painted roundabout? Because as you said, it's not like it's built up with cement and curbs as most roundabouts are. They have a barrier in the center so that you can't just drive straight through the middle. You can't cheat it.
Right.
So I was very curious to see the first car, what were they going to do? And sure enough, they used it just like a normal roundabout. They swerved around it and made their way. It was totally a roundabout. And then a few minutes later, I saw somebody else kind of cut the corner. They didn't take the full. They didn't follow all the lines.
So it's painted in a circle in the middle of an intersection.
Yes.
And I would say that the residents there took it upon themselves to paint it as a way to slow traffic. Maybe
Yes.
they felt like traffic was going too quickly in the area, going too fast, not obeying the speed limit, and you put a roundabout in to kind of slow the flow of traffic. But this thing is just painted with different colors, right?
It's
a
bright.
circle in the middle of what roads, what cross streets?
5th West and 7th South.
In Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake,
Okay.
right. And it is very colorful. It's a lot of blue and yellow and magenta and red. So you can't miss it. You can absolutely see it. And it's clear enough that it's a roundabout. It's not a big question mark. Oh, is this just street art? It does look like a roundabout. And there's enough lines that kind of lead you into that kind of circular motion. So most people were using it. In fact, everybody on some level was using the roundabout as intended.
What was around that area? Was there a lot of traffic? Were there commercial businesses, homes? When you went out there, what did you see?
It's a business district.
Okay.
And there's some construction. There's an empty parking lot. There's kind of an empty lot. There is a business, Slackwater. I think it's a pizza joint. So it wasn't busy at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, but I could see where if this is a popular place on Friday night where a lot of people could show up.
Now, the Tribune is reporting on this DIY, traffic safety push by business owners and people who are, maybe homeowners in that area. that there's been a lot of growth in that area. And where'd you say it was again?
5th West, 7th South.
Okay, in downtown, near downtown Salt Lake City, and that there's like not enough, good infrastructure, meaning like there weren't sidewalks and that kind of thing. Did you notice any sidewalks in the area?
Yes, somewhere under construction.
I see.
Where the roundabout is, there are sidewalks, and it's pretty well mapped out as far as the sidewalks. But it does look like every line, every crosswalk, every roundabout line, this was not done by professionals. This was, they're pretty
Amazing.
clean lines. You can see them, and they're bright. This was not done by professionals. I know this because I used to be a striping professional. This is one of the things I did in my teens. I would paint
Road stripe?
lines. I would do road striping. I would do crosswalks.
I would be so scared to go out there with a paintbrush or a roller and get out in the middle of a street and challenge my city to, that, hey, I'm going to if you're not going to do this, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm shocked that people aren't afraid to do this. And maybe the frustration just builds to the point that they feel like they have no other choice. They've seen too many close calls. They're worried about, kids in the neighborhood and pedestrian safety. And so they just like, I've had enough. I'm going to do this on my own. We're going to take live calls, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. What's going on in the granary? Just maybe it's going on in your own home, in your own neighborhood, and you're worried about pedestrian safety. Maybe you've even put one of those little, children at play signs in the middle of the street. When have you been so frustrated by traffic issues and safety concerns in your own city that you feel like you've needed to take matters into your own hands, or you want somebody in the city to do something about it? 801-575-TALK. It doesn't have to just be in Salt Lake City. It can be in Ogden. It can be in Provo. It can be in my city of South Jordan or my former city of Cottonwood Heights. Where have you been frustrated? Because I can't imagine it's just this group, this neighborhood that's frustrated, and it is not just the roundabout that they've painted.
No, can I stay on the roundabout just for a
Sure.
second, because another thing that I think is important is when I was crossing the crosswalk around the roundabout, there was a yield sign and a sign that says roundabout on it. But it was a temporary sign.
Is it hand painted?
No, it was a legitimate yield sign. It was a legitimate roundabout sign that we would normally see.
Okay.
But it was in a temporary cement post, something that you could move. So it looks like real signs that had been temporarily placed. So it looks legitimate, even though it looks odd, just because it's not the way we typically see roundabouts. And again, when you were thinking about our own neighborhood, if I were to put a child at play up in my yard, I would absolutely be allowed to do that, right? Or if sometimes you'll see deaf child or something like that, there wouldn't be any problem if it was on my own yard. Imagine if I thought there was too much speeding in my neighborhood and I changed the speed limit from 25 down to 15.
Like you went out there with a roller, a paintbrush or a roller, and you rolled over the sign with paint, and then you put 1.5 on the sign?
Yeah, not only would that be ridiculous, but you can actually buy these signs. They're not hard to find. You can buy them online. You can buy one that looks exactly like the real ones. And if you change the 25 for a 15, do you think, even saying, hey, this keeps my community safe, do you think the city for 1 second would allow that to stay? If you just arbitrarily put up a stop sign at an intersection that doesn't have a stop sign in your neighborhood, do you think the city would just let that continue? Of course not, right? That would be removed immediately. So I do wonder, why is this allowed to stay? This is an intersection, a four-way intersection. It's not even a stop. It's yield, it's a roundabout. They're changing the flow of traffic. This isn't something, apparently it doesn't look like it's something done by the city planner, the city engineers.
We've actually called the city and asked them to join us and give us their perspective and what are the plans for this neighborhood from the city's perspective? What are the plans going forward for these, I'll call them DIY traffic solutions on the part of people who live and work in that community of the Granary District? So we are working to get the city's angle on this. But I think you bring up a good point. If I were to go post a yield sign right in front of and I would actually love to do that sometimes, because I see people speed right through, my street. Or I'm kind of bugged actually right now by the speed of electric bikes in my community. My daughter and I were walking last night, and we practically got rolled over by one of these electric bikes on a path that we were walking on. It was dark. They had no light on the bike at all. They didn't beep at us or anything like that. And I was like, I would absolutely love to have shouted, "Slow down!" But I didn't, because I didn't want to cause any problems for us. But wow, I would love to run out there sometimes and post a no electric bikes allowed.
Totally.
Right?
Everyone's got their thing.
Right.
Or maybe you want to post something that says electric bikes are allowed. Right? It just depends on your point of view. What do you want to see? What benefits you the most? So it really was surprising to me to see all these lines that were painted. And again, having done this myself, knowing the standard of the paint and the designs, it did feel like somebody was just out there with a rolling brush. It was like, yeah, I think this one looks pretty straight. Is this straight enough, Bob? Yeah, it's straight enough.
I think frustrations with traffic issues and with pedestrian safety, they certainly spill outside of Salt Lake City. It can happen in any city. Maybe it's happening in Kaysville, where Scott lives. Good morning, Scott. Hi, Scott.
So, hey, Dave knows about this because he lived in Kaysville on 50 West that goes toward Burton Lane, and there was a half-concocted roundabout at that intersection for quite a long time, where it was just a bunch of rubber markers all around, and you would have half knocked off and stuff where people just drove over top of them. And that 50 West in Kaysville is just a nightmare for all the people that come over from the west side over Burton Lane. And so they finally the city actually made a good roundabout there, but it's just also that 50 West where people think it's the Indy 500. It's a pretty slow road, 25 miles an hour, but people think that it's a 50-mile-an-hour road, and we just never even have enough cops. And there's a lot of times where there's a lot of people that are.
I think we
lost Scott. Yeah,
Sorry,
Scott. Thanks. That's funny that he brought that up, because I did experience this. We had a roundabout proposal, and what the city did is they said, we're going to put a temporary roundabout, and it was kind of rinky-dink the way they put it together. It was like flashing lights, and they tried to make it look, but it was small. It was too small for the area. Nevertheless, they left it up for months and months,
really,
to see how people felt about it. Did they like it? Did it absolutely cause chaos? They ended up getting positive reviews, and they built a more permanent roundabout, and I'm sure it cost, it was very expensive because they were taking out sidewalks and rebuilding everything. But just to the point he was making is the city had a very organized plan. They were going to have a temporary roundabout before they invested in the full-fledged roundabout. So as we're watching this one down in town that is just painted by a bunch of people, like, yeah, does that look good? Yeah, it looks probably fine.
Dave and I talking about an article that we caught in the Salt Lake Tribune. I'm going to call them like DIY roundabout and a DIY crosswalk in the Granary District, which is just kind of north of downtown Salt Lake. And it seems as though people who work or live in that area are concerned about pedestrian safety. And so what they've done is they've taken matters into their own hands, perhaps even while they're waiting for a permanent solution from the city. And we, in fact, have called the city and asked them to join the show on this to figure out what will happen going forward. But one of the things that residents have done, business owners have done, is painted a roundabout right into the intersection at, would you say, Dave, 5th West and 7th South? Is that the intersection there? And then additionally, painted a crosswalk or crosswalks. But Dave went out to that area. What did you see for the crosswalks?
So this one, 8th South, 4th West. And the crosswalks were very interesting because it's, again, a four-way intersection, and only 2 of them had crosswalks. So there was a north-south crosswalk and there was an east-west crosswalk, but it wasn't at each intersection. And these were hand-painted, and I crossed all of them.
You walked across them?
I crossed the painted crosswalks, and then I'd cross the ones without any lines whatsoever. It was a pretty busy little area. I can see why they would want crosswalks. Even at 8 o'clock in the morning, there were a lot of people driving past. Well, I was standing trying to cross the street at, I think it was 8th South. And Debbie, I'm standing out there, and I'm a big guy. I'm hard to miss. And I'm standing at the crosswalk. There's no lights or anything that you push.
Like flashing
There's
lights.
no flashing lights to alert.
Slow traffic.
So I'm standing out in the road enough, not in the middle of the road, but enough that cars can see me. And they were just driving straight through the crosswalk.
So they were ignoring
me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like anybody slowed down, let me cross on the crosswalk. They weren't recognizing the crosswalk. And I don't know if that's just because they were being dangerous drivers, or if they didn't realize it. Maybe there's some engineering feat that I don't realize.
These are according to what I'm reading in the Salt Tribune. These aren't city painted crosswalks. These were done by the residents or
that's
business
my
owners.
understanding as well.
The people in that community. And how did the crosswalk lines look? Did they look like that? Bright white crosswalk paint, straight lines with maybe some, other striping to slow traffic down, or did they look kind of DIY-ish to you?
It didn't look as DIY as I expected. They were pretty straight. They weren't very bright. That was one of the problems. And when you're painting these lines, and again, having striped when I was in my teens, you have to clean off the area. You have to use very expensive paint. You usually add reflectors on it, so some sort of reflective paint so that it stands out. That is not what this is. These lines, I don't know when they were painted, but they are faded. They're a little bit hard to see. They are there technically, but again, this isn't necessarily important for me, the pedestrian. The drivers have to be able to see these lines. So the danger here, I would see, is it might give a pedestrian a false sense of security.
What do you think about roundabouts in general?
I dig roundabouts.
You do?
I like them, yeah. Big fan.
I have grown to like them. I encountered my first roundabout on the west side of the valley probably in about 2006 or 2007. I remember I was driving my mother-in-law and one of my daughters back from a bridal shower for my sister-in-law, and it was dark. And I was driving. We went into a roundabout, and I wonder if my daughter remembers this. The whole car was screaming because I didn't know about the whole yield situation. So I cut off. I thought the other car was supposed to yield to me.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to yield to the other car. We almost ended up in a tragedy. It would have been my fault.
Yeah.
But this was my very first encounter ever. It was well into my adult years with a roundabout. And I was so afraid of roundabouts after that. And then I had to force myself to really understand how they work when I moved out to South Jordan, because there are a lot of roundabouts. They've grown on me. They're a way to slow the flow of traffic. But I like it because I feel like it gives me a chance to get into the flow of traffic without having to dart.
Yes.
Gun it,
hit it,
pedal to the metal, gun it across, 4 or 5 lanes of traffic to get into traffic safely. But my first experience with the roundabout scared the daylights out of.
You're not
I
alone.
realized it
You're not
after.
alone.
I realized it at the error of my ways after the fact. My entire car was like screaming. They were literally screaming out, "Stop! Mom! What are you doing?" Yeah.
Everyone's getting cut off. All right, here's the public service announcement if you're unfamiliar with roundabouts. Old softball coach was a driver's ed teacher, and I asked him out, what do you do? Yield left. So whoever's coming left, that's what you're looking when
simple.
you approach the roundabout, yield left.
All right. Straight ahead, U.S. House of Representatives passing the SAVE Act, which requires proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote. So we're going to ask next what that means for Utahns. And more specifically, I asked the question, what does this mean for women? Find out why I asked that question straight ahead.
Jeff Kaplan.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
We've been telling you for a few months now that we have this exciting news. Master Electrical Services joined Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, and this is great because this means one-stop shopping for you for so many of your home improvement needs. You maybe need some new recessed lighting in the kitchen, or you need those old outlets replaced. And you're looking to put in a new HVAC system, or need some plumbing issues taken care of. That is why Mountain Home Services offers so many different options for you and your family.
And one of the great things about Master Electrical Service, what they brought over from their company that has been around since 1954, is this upfront pricing guarantee, which means when they come out and they give you a bid, they're going to honor that bid. It's not going to be a big surprise and upcharge and hidden fee after hidden fee when you get that final invoice. What you get bid is what you get charged.
100% satisfaction guarantee, and they are super easy to get a hold of.
Check them out. MountainHomeservices.com is the website, MountainHomeservices.com.
And here's their phone number, 801-543-2222. Once again, 801-543-2222.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen Report.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour, Salt Lake City firefighters say a fire broke out this morning at a recycling plant, and it could take days to put out all the hot spots. Fire Captain Brand Handcuff says the fire started in a big pile of smashed cars, and their main goal was to keep it from spreading.
There are a number of propane tanks with underground propane lines throughout this facility. There's a diesel tank on site as well nearby the fire, and a large liquid nitrogen tank that's nearby the fire. So we're setting up strategically to protect those also.
The recycling plant is located near 900 South and 3200 West. There's no word yet on what started the fire. And our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Secretary of Health and Human Services is now promising a new push into unraveling a medical mystery. ABC's Andrea Fujigi.
This morning, a commitment to find possible causes of autism within 6 months.
By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Health Secretary RFK Jr. promising during the president's cabinet meeting that he will find out why autism rates are rising.
Some experts say increasing rates could, at least in part, be attributed to more awareness and a broader definition of autism spectrum disorder. Your money at this moment. It looks like the Dow is currently down 181 points. S&P is down 15 points. Coming up, it's going to be a pretty sunny day. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials, like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is pretty much back to freeway speeds on the I-15 corridor, both directions throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. If you're coming out of Tooele County, we still have a little bit of slowing eastbound I-80. Just before you get to 7200 West, we had a crash in that area. It's also leading into the road construction zone where you only have one lane. So all of that is causing that little bit of slowing. If there's something else on the roads we haven't talked about, please let us know on the KSL Mountain Home Services text line at 57500. Say goodbye to expensive granite and say hello to luxurious style for about a third of the price with laminate countertops from CountertopFactoryLLC.com. See for yourself at CountertopFactoryLLC.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be a beautiful sunny day. Highs will be in the lower 80s. Tomorrow will be much of the same. Right now it is 66 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, as we first reported yesterday while we were on the show, the United States House of Representatives passed what's called the SAVE Act, which in a nutshell requires proof of U.S. citizenship when you register to vote. I want to make it clear, this has not been voted on by the Senate. So we're just trying to learn like what this would look like if it got through, the Senate and if the president signed it into federal law. But I wanted to learn more about it and specifically what it would mean if it goes into effect. And one angle of this argument, Dave, in favor of it, are those who argue it's needed to eliminate non-citizen voting. So you have to show proof of citizenship when you register to vote.
Photo ID. Photo ID, some sort of government ID, is extremely popular, not just with the left and not just with the right. This has bipartisan support. This is something that Americans like, the idea of requiring all voters to show government-issued photo ID. In fact, Pew Research has done this very thing, and they found that 81% of people across across all political parties, 81% of people favor the idea of photo identification before you vote.
But I think there's a caveat in this legislation that would take it a step further. Like if you just say photo ID, I think, I'm just going to show up with my driver license, right? And I'm going to show this to the county clerk in my county where I'm registered to vote, or where I want to register to vote, and it's a done deal. Well, my read of this, and I've read several news articles, and I'm going to take this from the Associated Press articles, that there's a theme here when it comes to the type of ID, what your ID should show, and it should show your birthplace as well. Otherwise, you would need to bring along a birth certificate. So let me just go over a list of the acceptable documents. So it would be either a real ID, which I think we have now, right? You have the real ID that indicates you're a citizen. Or you can bring in like a valid passport, and that'll show your birthplace, right? Or like if you have a government issued photo ID, which I think about like driver license, that actually shows your birthplace. But my driver license, if you check out your driver license, it doesn't show my place of birth. It doesn't show that I was born on an Air Force base, in California. It doesn't show that. Does yours show where your place of birth is? Look at the back. Make sure. Yeah. What do you see?
Nothing I see.
Yeah. So I wanted to know specifically how this would affect married women.
Okay.
So, a lot of women I know, when they got married, they totally eliminated their maiden name from all their legal IDs, whether that's their driver license, maybe it's their social security card. And they got married, they took their husband's last name. And now their new legal name on their driver license doesn't match their birth certificate.
Okay.
Right? Because if you don't have a place of birth on your driver license, my understanding of this legislation is you'd have to bring in your birth certificate to show that, where your place of birth is. So what I did is so I could better understand this, because I've seen a lot of angst on social media about this, particularly from women who are posting about this on social media. I wanted to better understand, how does this affect women who've gotten married, eliminated their maiden name, so now their new legal name doesn't match their birth certificate. So this morning I called up Weber County Clerk Ricky Hatch. We talked through this. And at least at this point, what his understanding of the SAVE Act would mean for women.
I understand the motivations behind it, and I think it does have some good provisions. It also has some challenging provisions. It deals primarily with citizenship and requiring verifiable proof of citizenship of voters, which in concept is it's perfect. That's the right thing to do. There are some definite administrative challenges that would hurt a lot of voters in how it's implemented.
So how do you see this playing out in Utah if it passes? And I keep saying if, because I'm sure there will be a lot more discussion when it gets to the Senate. But if it passes, what does that look like for a voter like me? What do I have to prove? I'm already registered to vote, by the way, Ricky.
Yeah. Well, you would now have to come into a county clerk's office and show either your passport or your birth certificate or some other official government-issued ID that shows that you have U.S. citizenship. Every voter is going to have to do that. And every time you move or change your party affiliation or any change to your voter registration, you're going to have to come in and do that in person. You could probably do that no problems. Someone who's homebound or someone who is in hospice, that might be a challenge for them. And there are some people who don't have a passport or they can't find their birth certificate. That'll be a little bit of a challenge. That's really probably the biggest impact that it would have on Utah voters.
I wonder how many people don't even have birth certificates to show, and how would that challenge your offices if this were to go into effect?
You bring up a really good point. These are important documents, and approximately 10% of U.S. citizens actually don't have easy, ready access to these documents. And so we're going to have about 10% of our voters that are going to have a real challenge in being able to provide this information. And in essence, they would not be allowed to be registered to vote, even though they meet all of the qualifications and have been voting for years and often decades. So the motivation is sound. We want citizens to vote and citizens only. The question is in implementation, and we just want to do it in a good way that enforces and strengthens that control, but doesn't harm people who are legitimate, valid U.S. citizens and who want to vote.
If I don't have a valid U.S. passport and I do have like a driver license from the state of Utah, do I then have to also supplement that with a birth certificate, from your understanding?
Yeah, the way I read it, yes, you would have to supplement that because it refers to a real ID state, which Utah is, which is great, but it adds the provision that the ID has to indicate citizenship, which Utah driver's license do not indicate citizenship status. So with that interpretation, you would, even though you have a real ID Utah driver's license, you would still have to come in and provide a passport or a birth certificate.
How does this affect women who changed their names, when they got married, and now they took on their husband's name, and that doesn't their married name doesn't match their birth certificate?
It's a good question, and we heard horror stories out of New Hampshire of someone who wasn't allowed to vote after several hours because of name changes. The SAVE Act does address this. It requires the states to provide reasonable accommodations, and so they basically punt that to the states for the states to figure out how best to accompany that. Now in Utah, we do a pretty good job at being reasonable and allowing folks to be able to provide the documentation without being overburdensome. So I think Utah would be able to figure it out, but some states, they could come down heavy-handed and make it extremely difficult for folks who are getting ready to change their names or who have changed their name to be able to provide sufficient evidence to remain or to get registered.
Well, I think about I did not. I kept my maiden name and then added my husband's last name. So I moved my maiden name to my middle name and then took on his last name. So to some degree, my new name, if you will, new as of 1995, does match my birth certificate, but it's not an exact match. Do you think that would be acceptable? And not every woman does that. A lot of women eliminate their maiden name altogether, keep their middle name if they were given one at birth, and then just take on their husband's last name. And so there's not really a match at all.
Yeah, and here's the challenge that this bill would put local administrators in. If we registered someone improperly, we could face 5 years of prison. And so now your local election administrator has to really balance the risk of being put into prison or possibly disenfranchising someone over a discrepancy in paperwork. It really creates a challenge for local administrators to enforce the law properly, but not to harm voters who have legitimate reasons to be legitimate proof, but maybe not technically proper documentation. It's going to put us in a bind.
That was Ricky Hatch. It was my conversation with him from the 8 o'clock hour this morning before the show. I sat down, called him up, and asked him how the SAVE Act, which was passed by the United States House of Representatives yesterday, still has to go to the Senate for a vote. And there's probably going to be a lot of continuing debate around this. But I wanted to specifically understand how this act would affect women and registrations when it comes to voting if we have changed our last names and our IDs no longer match our birth certificates. So when we come back in about a minute and a half, Dave and I are going to weigh in on this.
While the weather's mild, it's a perfect time to get your air conditioner ready for summer. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time you're outside, take a look at your air conditioner. There's a few things you can do to avoid common breakdowns that happen at the beginning of the season. If you covered it for the winter, uncover it. If the bushes and shrubs are growing around it, make sure you trim them back about 18 to 24 inches. If the coils are dirty, rinse them off with your garden hose. Then go inside and make sure you have a clean filter. If you do all that and find yourself with an air conditioner that isn't working, consider calling Any Hour Services. We have an air conditioner troubleshooting special for any homeowners listening. For only $29, we'll send a certified HVAC technician to your home to troubleshoot why your air conditioner isn't working. Then they'll give you a summary of their findings and present you options to repair it. To find out why your air conditioner isn't working for only $29, call Any Hour Services today at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at amazonbusiness.com.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow. Available at participating dealers.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Continuing to talk about the SAVE Act, which requires proof of citizenship when you register to vote. So you have to, U.S. citizenship, you have to have some sort of proof. My understanding, talking to Ricky Hatch, who's the Weaver County clerk, who's in charge of elections in Weaver County, indicating the same thing. It passed the House. Hasn't been put to a vote yet in the Senate, so it's more of an if this goes into effect. How this specifically, I wanted to know, would affect women whose driver license, name on a driver license after they get married and they take on their husband's name, and now their husband's name becomes their new legal name, and now their driver license doesn't match their birth certificate. And in Utah, your driver license doesn't show your place of birth, your birthplace. Right? Just check your driver license. It's not on there. You checked yours.
Yeah, I looked at mine. I don't see anywhere that it says that. I do have a real ID. I've got the little star in the corner, but nothing that says Woodville, Texas.
Yeah, mine doesn't say, Northern California. I was born on an Air Force base back in 1967. And I just happen to have, a very flimsy tissue paper-like copy of my 1967 birth certificate. I'm almost afraid to take it out of the file that it's held in because it might dissolve and disintegrate into a million different pieces. It's that old and that flimsy. It's as yellow can be.
It's like the Declaration of Independence.
Pretty much.
You can't have too much heat, too much humidity in the air.
Obviously banged out on an old typewriter. But my understanding, and everything I'm reading on the SAVE Act at this point, would suggest that you would need to be able to prove your birthplace at your county clerk's office to register to vote. Now, I'm registered to vote, so what I'm curious to see is, if I stay registered to vote forever and a day in Utah, will I have to actually, present anything at all, or am I grandfathered in? Well, I think a lot of this is yet to kind of be sorted out. Or if I decide to move and I re-register in another county, in another state, will I have to then march into that with that old rickety old birth certificate and, my Utah driver license? And if you have your passport, I think you're probably in a pretty good position, but many Americans don't have a passport. But what do you think about this potential impact on women?
Oh, I could see this being absolutely problematic. My wife, she dropped her maiden name. She has a middle name. So instead of hyphenating or anything, she just dropped her maiden name completely. So it doesn't look, aside from the first and middle name, the birth certificate is very different. I mean, with the last name, she goes by Noriega, hasn't gone by Sims for years.
Yeah. My hope is with this is despite all of the angst I've seen on social media, particularly posts from women who are very concerned about this on social media, and I hear you and I understand this. A lot of women, a lot of my friends, a lot of my family members have completely eliminated their maiden name when they got married and taken on their husband's name, and now that becomes their legal name. I did not do that. I just moved my maiden name to my middle name. It dropped my middle name, which what's no loss there, right? I just dropped my middle name, moved Dujanovic to my middle name, and then took on my husband's last name. So it sort of matches my birth certificate, not in total, but I think it's reasonable that they do match. But I think about women who have gone through divorce or multiple divorces.
Yes.
Their husband died. They're now a widow, and they've remarried.
Oh, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought. My grandmother was that. She was born a Harmon. She married a Tidwell and ended up a second marriage with a Potts. So she had multiple names. And then how does that work? When you're going in, you're constantly changing your name, then you're looking at your birth certificate. That there's got to be, this is so ubiquitous. This affects, half the population, So obviously there's got to be a simple fix to this, right?
I did appreciate what Ricky Hatch said about this. He's, of course, the county clerk I talked to before the show on this, and he said, he pointed out that this kicks some of this back to the states to figure out what to do ultimately. So there is, some control at the state level of how this would shake out. But I spoke not too long ago to a woman, lives in a different state, actually lives in my home state of Arizona, and she reached out to me over social media because her husband was a police officer. If I recall, he was killed in the line of duty, and she was entitled to some benefits that she was having a hard time getting because it was his second marriage. He had gotten divorced many, many years ago, like 35 years ago in California, and she was having a difficult time proving that his first wife wasn't entitled to those benefits, those line of duty death benefits. So she asked me to help, if I could help find, and it's just because I've done a lot of research in the past, and it's not like she only asked me out of the blue. It's like she feels like I could have the capacity to find these for her. But she just had no record of his divorce and couldn't find a record in the court system of his divorce. So I think about, boy, if you're divorced 40 or 50 years ago and they didn't upload all this stuff magically to some sort of computer system where you can research it. So my hope is that this becomes very clear in the weeks and the months to come. If this does pass the Senate, and it is an if, how this will look, particularly for women. There's probably other questions for other people who have specific questions about their own situation, but I did want to see if I could find out from Ricky Hatch what he thought about how this would shake out for women who have totally changed their name.
They basically punt that to the states for the states to figure out how best to accompany that. Now in Utah, we do a pretty good job at being reasonable and allowing folks to be able to provide the documentation and without being overburdensome. So I think Utah would be able to figure it out, but some states, they could come down heavy-handed and make it extremely difficult for folks who are getting ready to change their names or who have changed their name.
Yeah, they're going to have to be very clear in this legislation. These bills are going to have to be very clear because this is absolutely a reasonable concern, and it would affect millions, tens of millions of people. So, yeah, you've got to address that and make sure it's very clear. We can't make it so burdensome for every woman that's ever changed her name.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of women.
It's insane.
Yeah. Straight ahead, 2 former Utah high school football players face the death penalty in the Republic of Congo, accused of an attempted coup in that country. Then their lives were spared. the story next.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
One of the best things about Salt Lake City Fat Loss is it was easy to follow. Sometimes weight loss programs can be so complicated. You have to have a food diary that you're putting in every single thing that you've ever eaten in the history of your life, and it's just burdensome. It feels like a full-time job. With Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I, quite honestly, once I learned the program, I didn't even have to think about it. I knew exactly how much to eat. I knew what to eat. I knew what I could eat, what I couldn't eat. It was simple to follow. And that simplicity made it possible to change some bad habits that I had gained over the years. So Salt Lake City Fat Loss can help you lose up to a pound of fat per day. I lost 57 pounds in 60 days, and I did it without injections. I did it without surgery. If you're interested, there's a great deal going on right now, a little spring special of $200 off. All you have to do is reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
You ever notice when someone takes a sip out of a water bottle and they find it to be really good? They always seem to look at the label. Folks just can't help themselves when they take a sip out of a little spring water bottle. Well, there's a reason it's called nature in a bottle. No chemicals, no additives. It's just pure, clean, healthy water from a family-owned and operated bottled water company. And that little spring is nestled in a beautiful canyon in Bear Lake, Utah. Now, just imagine the reaction from your customers if that bottle of pure goodness wore your logo, designed just right to make your name stand proud. In the advertising world, they call those unique impressions. Of course, when you drink Little Spring Water, you'll just call it impressive. Let Little Spring Water help hand your customers something they will remember. Just visit littlespringwater.com to get a quote. It's actually quite reasonable. littlespringwater.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Utah's #1 roofing contractor is now booking for spring, and what an opportunity. If you've been thinking it's time for a new roof, call IWC Roofing right now. Start of the season. They'll give you $1,500 off the quote on your new roof. IWC roofs more homes than any other company in Utah, and they're the highest rated roofing contractor in the state. And wait, it gets better. Instead of turning your world into chaos for an entire week, IWC will finish your project in a single day. Along the way, they'll even send you updates and pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting. And when they're done, they'll power wash your driveway just to say thank you. IWC gives you the best warranty in the business, backed by Owens Corning, and that extra $1,500 off. They offer flexible payment options, the best pricing, and $1,500 off. Call 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or just go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour, some people in Salt Lake City's Granary District decided to paint their own crosswalks instead of waiting for the city to do it. KSL News Radio's Verl Johansson explains.
Salt Lake City Transportation Director John Larson told the Salt Lake Tribune the city wants to support the Granary District, but can endorse community members creating homemade crosswalks. He says many times when new developments come to an area, they redo sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. Larson says if they do the sidewalks now, they may have to do it again when developers come, causing the city to waste money.
Business owners in the district say these improvements can't wait for developers and feel it's better to invest now. 2 semi-trucks crashed on I-15 this morning in southern Utah near Leeds, north of St. George. The Hurricane Valley Fire and Rescue Department reports both drivers were all right, but debris was scattered across all lanes of the freeway. Crews worked quickly to get the debris cleared, and the freeway is fully opened as of now. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Uncertainty over tariffs is still a big problem for investors. Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver says we're seeing the uncertain times even impact the bond market.
The U.S. 10-year Treasury is the most widely held, most trusted asset on planet Earth. It's held by countries like China, Japan, throughout Europe, but also the biggest institutional investors and the biggest hedge funds. When you see them selling Treasuries, prices falling and yields rising, it tells you that they have growing doubts about the United States economy ability to continue to grow as it faces higher tariffs and probably higher inflation, maybe slowing growth, but also this administration's ability to keep its word and have a coherent strategy around tariffs.
And as we look at the markets right now, the Dow is up 65 points, the S&P up 16, and the NASDAQ up 77. Coming up, we could see some records fall today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales were broadcasting live for today from NPS in Layton. We love NPS no matter what, but Steve, the amount of deals they're throwing at us today, oh my goodness.
Okay, dude, I got here half an hour ago, and I've already got a cart full of stuff.
See, and I haven't had enough time to go fill up a cart.
The employees look at me, I'm like, I'm with KSL, don't shoot.
Because Steve got in before the huge line that was out the door, Justin, every day. But, boy, look at the deals you guys have got going today. So, first of all, you got deals for everybody. Tell us about the donuts.
Well, we've got the donut kebab truck out front today. Wonderful donuts, a very good partner of ours. And for the locals in the area, Layton, Clearfield, Kaysville, there's free donuts for you up here. And
free donuts regardless, no purchase necessary.
Bring your driver's license in and show us where you're from. And
birth certificate.
Hopefully come in the store and check us out as well. And then, if you love those donuts so much, once you come in the store and you spend $50, you can go out and get more for every $50 that you spend.
So get a bunch of donuts while you're also saving a boatload of money on your giant cart. Steve, I'm not even sure with your full cart you even have spent $50.
Oh, no, not even close.
That's one of the amazing things about NPS. Well, what are some of the other sales we've got going on today? We'll focus on the Layton sales here coming up, Justin, but what are some deals you can get at any NPS store right now?
Yeah, some of the big deals today, one of the ones that I'm most excited about is this golf net that's $15.
It's already got in the
Yeah, I already talked
you grabbed one?
Yeah, with the Masters in full swing this weekend, I bet everybody's getting excited.
Full swing, I get it.
So a $15 golf practice net today and tomorrow only for that price.
Yes.
What else?
We've got some swings right in time for summer that we've marked down substantially. Our price was $23 on a trapeze swing. It's $5 now, $4.99. We had another swing was $38. Now it's $14.99. We've got select chocolate Easter eggs, 3 for 99 cents.
I love that. Along with that, you also have toothbrushes for 25% off.
I know. There's so many great deals. You really just got to come check us out and have some donuts while you're out here.
So if you're in Davis County at all, stop by the Layton location at 1150 North Main in Layton to get those free donuts. But go to any of the NPS locations to get great deals at each store, at including at 1600 South Empire Road in Salt Lake and at 475 North State in Orem.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of health care. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you could tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Heather Kelly.
We do have a crash reported out in Weber County. This is I-84 westbound after you leave Morgan, heading toward Peterson. Apparently it's over on the right shoulder. I'm not seeing any slowing in the area. Just want to use caution. And then an earlier crash we had in downtown Salt Lake on 7th East at 400 South. That has cleared. All the lanes appear to be open at this point, and no delays anywhere else you're trying to get to. Break your routine and into adventure in Cedar City, Bryan Head. Connected to nature, Cedar City makes spring the best break ever. Shopping, dining, and recreation galore. Break up your adventure. Visit cedarcity.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a predicted high of 83 degrees today, which could tie the record for the day. It cools down a little tomorrow with a high of 74, and then it really cools off on Sunday when we only get up to about 60 degrees. Right now, it's 68 and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
2 former Utah high school football players face the death penalty in the Republic of Congo. They were accused of being involved in an attempted coup in that country. They faced the death penalty, Dave, over this, and then their lives were spared. We're going to get into it.
This was such a fascinating and unbelievable story. We just had to talk about it and find out more. And Deseret News reporter Dennis Romboy has done an incredible job of breaking this down. And these men, and this was national, international news, this coup attempt that failed, but the Utah ties are incredible.
They played, my understanding is, Dennis, at Copper Hills, these 2 individuals did?
That's correct, yeah. Copper Hills High School. I believe that's in West Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's where they apparently became friends and kind of found themselves over in Congo involved in a coup attempt.
So what was their connection to the Congo?
So the one young man, Marcel Malonga, his father, Christian Malonga, is from the Congo. He came here as a refugee, attended Highland High School, built a business. I think he was a car salesman, had a family here. And at some point in time, he returned to the Congo and joined the military there and became the leader of kind of an opposition political party to the government that was in power at the time.
So, Dennis, walk us through what happened beginning May of last year. And by the way, if you're just joining us, Dennis Romboy, the Deseret News, has been following a developing story where 2 former high school football players who played at Copper Hills High School, they're now in their 20s, were arrested and accused of being part of this coup attempt that happened last year in the Republic of Congo, and they actually faced the death penalty. So Dennis is helping us sort through the details of this. So take it away, Dennis, and bring us up to speed on what went down and what became of these 2 individuals, and also the father.
Yeah, so on May 19th, 2024, Christian Malonga had organized a group of armed men, including his son Marcel and Tyler Thompson, his high school teammate, and then there was another Utahn involved as well. They got a big bus. They were armed, and they started to go to the homes of political leaders in the Congo. Some of them were not home at the time, and this all happened like in the dark of night. At one point, they had stopped at a hotel to gear up, and the bus driver fled, so they went and hijacked another bus. A driver was killed somewhere along the way. They attacked the minister, I believe it was the prime minister or deputy prime minister's home. There was gunshots and gunfire there where a couple of guards were killed. Then they made their way to the palace at about 5 a.m., the presidential palace, where there was another shootout. And at some point in time during these shootouts, Christian Malonga, the father, was killed. A lot of this was live streamed from the palace on social media. And at one point you could hear someone in the background saying, "I got shot." So it was kind of a crazy, crazy thing. Eventually, after Christian Malonga was killed, the authorities there, the security forces, arrested Tyler Thompson and Marcel Malonga and took them into custody. And that was about 10 a.m. So this took place over the period of maybe 8 or 9 hours.
So once they were arrested and they were tried, do we know anything about what Marcel Malonga or Tyler Thompson, what they used as a defense? Did they admit to everything, or did they claim to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? What was their justification?
And I don't know. It'd be hard for them to claim they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's lots of video or images of them armed with tactical weapons and tactical gear. I don't know how the legal proceedings went down in the Congo. I don't know how their judicial system works. All I know is that eventually they were sentenced to death, and then the president pardoned them and commuted their sentence to life imprisonment. And that apparently occurred over the course of the past 8 or 9 months, whatever it is.
So
eventually they were repatriated to the United States.
Let's. I want to just talk about. Go back just a little bit. Was there? Do you know of? Are you aware, Dennis, of any sort of negotiation that was happening on behalf, maybe, of these two Utah residents to spare them the death penalty in the Congo?
I don't know. Apparently there was, because at some point in time there's been some negotiations in the United States and the Congo about some kind of a minerals deal. And as part of that deal, it seems that these two were going to be returned to the United States as part of some kind of a minerals deal between the two countries.
Do we know if these two young men, Marcel Malonga and then Tyler Thompson, do we know if they were radicalized here in the United States, or was it once they arrived in Congo?
So a lot of the planning for this coup occurred right here in Utah. There's also images of Tyler Thompson and Marcel Malonga at a shooting range in, I believe, in West Jordan, where they're learning to use some of these kinds of weapons. They also allegedly took some guns from the United States to the Congo with them. So a lot of this was planned here in the U.S., and I think that's why, and you might get into this a little bit more in your next segment, but that's why they were charged here in Utah in federal court, because a lot of the planning and training for this happened right here in the state.
So are they back in Utah now in custody? What's become of them since the death penalty has been commuted to a life sentence?
So the two, Thompson and Malonga, were scheduled to make their first appearance in federal court in New York. And then their third individual is here in Utah and appeared in federal court, I believe, yesterday. And then from here on, the other two will be brought to Utah, and the legal proceedings will occur here in federal court in Salt Lake City.
Is any part of this agreement at all, Dennis? And by the way, we're speaking with Dennis Romboy. He's a journalist with the Deseret News, and he's written and been following the story of these two Utah men who faced the death penalty in the Congo and accused of an attempted and what ended up being a failed coup attempt there last year. Do we know if part of this deal was they have to remain in custody for the rest of their lives here in the United States?
I don't know that specifically, but I would think that the Congo wouldn't release them just and let them go as part of this deal. It seemed like, and these charges came these federal charges here in the United States came a day after they arrived back in the country. So I suspect this was worked out much, in advance, and the U.S. Attorney's Office had investigated this over the course of the last few months and had these charges all ready to go, ostensibly as part of this deal when they were repatriated back to the U.S.
Dennis, this is so fascinating that so much of the training was happening, perhaps even the planning was happening here in Utah. Does it appear that it was just these two men, or was it possibly expanded to a larger group? Do we know anything about that?
There are a couple other individuals involved, a West Valley resident. He did not go to the Congo. I don't know how many other than Thompson and Marcel Malonga that actually went from Utah to the Congo and participated in the attempted coup. But again, they worked here and trained here before going over there.
I thought I'd read somewhere about drones being used as well. Was it just firearms, or were drones being weaponized in some way?
I don't know. I did see something about drones. I don't know exactly how they were used, if they were just used for surveillance or if they were used actually as some kind of a weapon. I'm not aware of that.
Dennis, thank you so much. Dennis Romboy at the Deseret News, our colleague at the Deseret News, writing and following the case of these two individuals who used to play football in their teenage years at Copper Hills High School, facing the death penalty in the Congo, were spared death, and are now being, tried, I guess, or facing court here in the United States.
And these are young men. They're 22 years old. And thank you so much for joining us, Dennis. We appreciate it. And if you want to keep following this story, Dennis Romboy will continue to track this at thedeseretnews.com.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas now on the line with us. Greg, I'm sure you were listening in and have been reading up on this case. Obviously a tremendously failed coup attempt. It sounded from Dennis's explanation, of course, this is just my opinion, my view of it. It sounds like once they got there, I don't know how organized the whole thing was, and they were captured, and another Utahn was killed, the father of one of these. What are your thoughts on this at this point?
Yeah, so I've been reading the 82-page federal complaint that was filed, which really tells the story very well. I think Dennis did also. But it talks about all the planning that they did here in Utah, and it was fairly well organized, Debbie, notwithstanding that it was failed.
Well, it was failed.
A huge number of guns, a huge number of firearms were taken. A lot of people were recruited into this. It failed. The leader was killed, and now there are 4 individuals who are going to be facing charges here in Utah. There are 6 counts that are filed against them. They're all very, very serious counts.
What do they look like? Because obviously in Congo they were sentenced to death. What kind of agreement has to be made between countries? Obviously, they're not going to return these individuals to America unless they have some sort of assurances. But there's this due process as well. How does this balance?
Yeah, so one of the counts, Dave, is what's called conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction. If that count resulted in a death, and it looks like it did according to the complaint, it's death eligible here in the United States. In other words, they could receive the death penalty here in the United States. Dennis also articulated very well the fact that there was a deal cut between the United States and the Congo for the purchase of some minerals. Congo has some minerals that are valuable to the United States, so I think there was a little bit of a quid pro quo there too. And I know it's kind of weird, but I think the United States wanted these people here badly, and were willing to cut a deal with the Congo to do that and purchase some of their valuable natural resources. And the Congo, like you said, commuted their sentence to a life without the possibility of parole. There's no chance that the United States would release them on bail or on the street. I'm sure that even if the case here fails, they'll probably be deported back to Congo where they'll serve the rest of their time. But right now, the United States wants to take their pound of flesh, if you will.
There's so many layers to this, Greg, but I just, it never ceases to amaze me that these kinds of situations can have some Utah roots, and that the planning appears to have been going on here. And as you said, correcting me, that this seemed like it was very well planned once they got there. That this it sounds like it flew under the radar while they were planning it.
Yeah, they were pretty well organized according to this complaint. It really reads like a novel. And like you said, they met and played ball together at high school here. It looks like the one kid first went to Highland High, and then, like you said, they transferred to Copper Hill.
I think there was a father that went to the Highland High, in his younger years, according to my understanding of it. And then the other two individuals who were in their early 20s, played ball together at Copper Hills High.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, there are Utah ties, and and the leader, the one leader, was killed during the course of this coup, which, even though he was one of the people involved in the coup, that's a death resulting. In other words, there was a death caused by their conduct, even though it was one of their own, and that could make this a death penalty case. I know that's kind of a little bit confusing, because you usually think of a group killing someone making it death penalty, but even if one of the members of the coup dies, it's part of the aggravating circumstance that could make this what they call a death eligible case.
Greg, how does the law view this radicalization where people perhaps get together, they talk about it, they train? At what point is this just kind of the hypothetical people that are talking, and then versus when it actually takes place? Like if they were able to stop it before they actually traveled to the Congo, how does the law balance this or look at the radicalization process?
Yeah, so every one of the counts here that's charged against these guys, with the exception of actually taking the firearms out of the United States, is what's called a conspiracy. So that crime occurred right here in the United States, right here in Utah, while they were planning this. So the conspiracy, the radicalization, what happened here in the United States and here in Utah, is a crime that occurred here. Now, they came to fruition in the Congo when they actually tried the coup. But even if it had failed, even if they had been caught on the airplane and at the Utah airport, they could have been charged with these conspiracy, because the plan was in effect. The plan to go to the Congo, and we're talking about using a material support to overthrow the government, using weapons of mass destruction, bomb a government facility, murder and kidnap foreign leaders, and then the taking firearms out of the United States. So, like I said, 4 of the 6 counts occurred before they even hit the ground in the Congo.
Greg, thank you so much for breaking this down. Fascinating story. That's Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst. Debbie, I am just watching this unfold. It truly is incredible. These are 2 young men, 22 years old. One of the men, Marcel Malonga's father, seemed to be the instigator, I guess maybe the chief behind all of this, and they were live streaming this on social media, which adds another layer to it. So this was unfolding. They were videoing this. They were videoing the attack, people being shot. And now these 2 men, these 2 22-year-olds, have been returned to America, have been extradited, or what do they call it, expatriated, or repatriated, brought from the Congo, and as Greg Skordas had said, they're going to face the legal consequences of America now.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. We're 30 minutes away from getting started on today's movie show, but that doesn't mean you can't come and get some awesome deals at NPS today. We're at the Layton store at 1150 North Main. We're joined now by Justin. Justin, you got so many good deals. Let's talk about the Layton store sales alone today. So if you come in and see the people on the movie show, say hi to us as you walk by to take advantage. What are some of the deals you'll get here in Layton?
You know, one of the biggest deals, well, just first and foremost, one of the biggest deals is if you're local to the Layton area, we've got the donut kebab truck out front. You can come get free donuts and get 10% off of your purchase in the store with a flyer that they're giving out there, and that's on anything in the store.
Okay, so if you live in Davis County near Layton.
In the Layton area, yep.
You can get the free donuts. Then they give you a coupon. Then you come in the store after you ate your donuts.
Exactly.
You get another 10% off your whole order.
Yeah, and if you spend more than $50, you can go out and get more
and
donuts.
Get more. Well, it's like the best circle imaginable.
Get you ready for Easter, I guess.
Well, here's something interesting. You guys have 60% off clothing and accessories, okay? Everybody's been talking about tariffs. Guess who doesn't get affected by tariffs?
Yeah, we have some ridiculous deals. We actually have, for the Layton listeners here today too, we have 70% off some of our higher end collectible clothing.
Oh, wow.
And so we've got a rack that they've put together of some of the, the more like nicer brands and things like that. So
I'm seeing lots of cars turning in off Main Street here in Layton to the parking lot just hearing about this. What else have you got?
We also have these really cool 10-foot by 7-foot golf nets that are just $15. They're $80 everywhere else and $15 here.
$15 for a golf net. Steve, already got one.
With Easter coming up and everything, we do have an additional discount on our toys. It's 20% off of toys and plushed animals, and 20% off electronics as well, which is a little bit more than we usually do off electronics, and that does include TVs here.
So come out and check out the Layton store. But you've got deals at all the NPS stores, including 1600 South Empire Road in Salt Lake and 475 North State in Orem, because you guys have, on top of the 30 to 70% off the original price of items, then you throw these other additional savings on top. So you have 70% off an original price shirt, and then you throw another 70% off of that. At that point, you're like, I don't know how much it is, but it's only going to be a couple of bucks.
Yeah,
I'm going to need a bigger card.
Yeah, some of the stuff is like $1.50, when you're all said and done, and it's, north of 10, 15, 20 bucks anywhere else. So.
I'm looking. You guys have selected imported sparkling water, 2 for $1. Now, these are normal retail are $1.29 each. Your normal retail, 89 cents, and today you can get them for 50 cents each.
Yeah, obviously, purposely, we're trying to throw some hotter deals on here to get you guys out here. The chocolate Easter eggs, 3 for 99 cents. Regular price on those is $1.19. So those are some good things for the Easter basket coming up soon.
And remember, at the Layton store, for every $50 spent in store, regardless of where you live, if you're here in Layton and you spend $50 in store, you get free donuts from Donut Kebabs. If you live in Layton or the surrounding cities, you get those donuts for free as soon as you walk up.
And the 10% off.
And the 10% off. What amazing deals they've got at NPS, 4 locations.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top local story this hour: a fire at a recycling plant near 9th South and 3200 West in Salt Lake City put a huge plume of smoke into the air this morning. Salt Lake City Fire Captain Brent Handcuff says about an acre of smashed, stacked cars were caught on fire.
Unfortunately, this is going to be a very long, drawn-out process given the amount of vehicles that are stacked on top and on top and on top of each other. So this will be burning possibly for days.
He says getting enough water was a challenge at the start, and one of their first concerns was keeping the flames away from some nearby propane, diesel, and liquid nitrogen tanks. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Police in South Florida say a small plane has crashed and burned near a major interstate and railroad tracks in Boca Raton. ABC's national transportation correspondent Sam Sweeney says the twin-engine Cessna took off from Boca heading toward Tallahassee.
Clearly, there was a problem on takeoff, and they were trying to return, but couldn't quite get back to that airport when they crashed. It was right near the Boca Airport. There was a lot of flames. There was a nearby office building. One witness wrote on X that it shook the entire building, but firefighters able to get those flames out.
It's not yet clear how many people were on board or if anyone survived. Meanwhile, the Utah Jazz play their final home game of the season tonight, hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's also the final game with the Jazz PA announcer Dan Roberts at the mic. Tip-off for that game is set for 7:30 tonight. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 182 points, the S&P up 32, and the NASDAQ up 127. Coming up, extra warm, then breezy. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Everyone needs a checking account, so get the one with built-in benefits to complement your unique lifestyle. Mountain America's My Style Checking has perks no one can pass up. You'll enjoy sizzling restaurant deals, peace of mind mobile phone protection, timely telehealth access, built-in identity protection, and clutch loan rate discounts. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are looking pretty good right now all across the Wasatch Front. No accidents reported on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, 201 freeway. Not seeing any delays coming out of Tooele County on 201 or eastbound I-80 through that road construction zone. But you're probably going to run into a few orange construction barrels almost anywhere you go. It's that season. If you do see something on the roads, please let us know at the KSL Mountain Home Services text line at 57500. Murdoch Hyundai, home of 3.99% for 6 years on Santa Fe, Tucson, or Elantra. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We could set a record today if we hit or pass the predicted high of 83 degrees, but the wind will pick up, and as we head into the weekend, we should see a high of 74 on Saturday and then back down to 60 on Sunday. Right now, it is 68 and partly cloudy. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
What do you think I was thinking when this morning I sat down at my kitchen table eat a little breakfast before I drove into work, and I read this headline. The billion-dollar ball player could arrive by 2030. That's a headline from sportsnot.com, and it says, and I'm going to quote the headline, MLB Insider, the billion-dollar ball player could arrive by 2030. What do you think I was thinking this morning?
It's fake news.
No.
It's impossible.
No.
There's no way that this could be true.
No, what I was thinking is, how are we going to be able to afford a baseball team, to field a baseball team if we get an expansion team or, another team to Salt Lake City? Because I feel like we've kind of gone almost all in on bringing a Major League Baseball team here to near downtown Salt Lake, with the stadium being built out at like North Temple and Redwood Road. Like, we're just waiting for the commissioner of baseball to make the move. And then I see this billion-dollar ball player could arrive by 2030. And I went, no, that seems like an unaffordable circumstance.
It's a fair concern.
You think so?
Because right now you look at the Utah Jazz, who have ruled this market forever. Ever since they moved here, it has been the Utah Jazz. The most they've ever paid for a player is Lauri Markkanen. 5 years, $238 million, which is a massive amount of money. That is a quarter of what you're talking about for baseball players. And there are baseball players that have received outrageously large contracts already. And the thought that Utah and whoever's going to buy this team, likely the Millers, this Major League Baseball team, could they afford a billion-dollar player? I don't think so.
Well, I guess we don't know.
Maybe they can, but here's the thing. Most Major League Baseball teams cannot afford a billion-dollar player.
There you go. So I read down in this article, and it's like, okay, $1 billion. That sounds like I don't even know what that looks like, right? I don't even know what that looks like. The article says, in February 2019, Bryce Harper signed what was then the largest deal in MLB history. What is it? 13-year, $330 million contract with the Phillies. And
looks like a bargain now.
Right. Well, then the article says that record lasted mere weeks before the Los Angeles Angels, Mike Trout, inked a 12-year, $426.5 million extension. And it just goes on. Then you got, is it Shohei?
Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei. Yeah. I mean, he's phenomenal. He according to the article, resets the market entirely with his 10-year, $700 million contract with the LA Dodgers. I mean, and it goes on, Dave. And I was like, okay, not $1 billion. How about $700 million for one player? Is this what, you've been in the sports world for so long, I felt you were the perfect person to ask, is this what we'd have to be spending for a team in Utah to make us competitive?
No. You don't need to have the $1 billion player. You want the $1 billion player. All the fans want the owners to buy the $1 billion player.
Is this all in your mind? Like, we can do what the Oakland A's did.
A little bit.
In the early 2000s. Remember the movie Moneyball, Deb? When they actually, paid people, they brought people out of retirement and injured players, and they actually made something of themselves. Yeah. They were competitive, and they weren't paying these outrageous salaries.
It's very tricky, right? The teams that spend the most don't always win. The New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets have spent hundreds of millions of dollars. They've spent so much money, and they don't win every year. You'll have the team that kind of is the up-and-comer and the bargain basement team. Baseball, unlike a lot of sports, doesn't necessarily just have the most expensive team. Baseball doesn't have a real salary cap. So if you are the LA Dodgers, if you're the New York Yankees or the Mets or the Red Sox, you can spend 2, 3, 4 times what other smaller markets can. Smaller markets, they don't even try to compete with those guys, which should bring you hope if you are a fan of Major League Baseball and you're hoping that it comes to Utah. There will be a billion-dollar player. I have no doubt. I think this is a fair and accurate assessment.
Well, this article quotes Jim Bowden. Did I say that right?
Former Reds general manager.
Yeah, it quotes him. And I just actually lost the article, Dave. But it quotes him as saying it will happen. It will happen. And it sounds like he wrote. Here it is. I'm trying to get it back. He wrote a piece in the Atlantic or the Athletic. Excuse me, the Athletic.
The Athletic.
The Athletic, saying that it'll happen, and projecting perhaps by the year 2030, $1 billion salary for baseball. Now, is this? I mean, baseball is America's pastime, right? I mean, it's America's pastime. But I do wonder, can America's pastime sustain those types of salaries? I mean, it's not just $1 billion salary; it's a $700 million, and they're multi-year contracts. But and then you look at Juan Soto, $765 million contract with the New York Mets, and the list goes on and on and on. How are they doing all this?
Well, there's a couple things that are going on, and I don't know who that billion-dollar player is going to be. Is it going to be Pittsburgh's Paul Skeens? Is it going to be Gunnar Henderson? Is it going to be the Reds' Ellie De La Cruz? We'll see, but is it sustainable? Yes, for a couple different reasons. Let me use the Jazz as an example, and the Miller family. When the Miller family bought the Jazz back in 1985, they paid basically all in $20-30 million for them. Right? At the time in 1985, that was a lot of money to pay. Absolutely. $30 million. When they sold 35 years later to Ryan Smith, they sold it for $1.66 billion. It's one of the greatest investments ever made. Right? That was incredible growth. It's a return on investment of nearly 8,000%. So what these owners are doing when they're looking at these players and they're signing up these contracts, you're not just trying to pay for it in the short term, season to season. You're trying to increase the value of Major League Baseball in your team, and you can't help but take that into account. Is the team becoming more and more valuable? Absolutely it is. And sometimes we laugh at these players and what they're asking for. I'll never forget 1994, there was a good basketball player. He wasn't the best basketball player in the world. His name was Glenn Robinson. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks. He wanted a $100 million contract. And I'll never forget the owner's like, how about you give me a $100 million contract? I'll give you the team.
Is that a no?
He's like, I'll settle for 68.
So bring it back home to my original concern when I read this headline this morning, as I was looking over news headlines, reading articles, and I see that by 2030, it's kind of projected that there will be the $1 billion MLB player, and how that could impact a team here, if we get a team here, a Major League Baseball team here in Salt Lake City.
I don't think it'll affect, quite honestly, because these huge contracts are only being picked up by 5 teams in Major League Baseball. It's the usual suspects. We will never compete with the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Dodgers. We will never compete. You're not trying to. You just need to compete with the other small markets. You need to compete with the Rockies. You need to compete with some of these smaller teams. That's your competition.
Small market teams. Well, we can always lure them here with our beautiful mountains.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd rather have the $1 billion. I don't care how beautiful these mountains are. Give me the $1 billion.
Beautiful mountains. Great hiking in the off season. Straight ahead, we're going to check in with our movie show guys for the movie of the week and the movie show question of the week next.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? a ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse. In today's busy world, your home should be your sanctuary, a peaceful retreat where you can unwind, breathe deeply, and recharge. And what better way to create that haven than with flowers? A pop of color in your flower beds, a cheerful container garden by the front door, or a lush patio filled with vibrant blooms can transform any space into a personal oasis. Flowers don't just brighten up your home, they lift your spirits too. Research even shows that surrounding yourself with plants can reduce stress and boost happiness. At Olson's Greenhouse, we grow premium quality plants that make it easy to bring beauty and joy into your life. Whether you prefer bold, eye-catching colors or soft, soothing pastels, we have the perfect flowers to complement your space. And with locally grown plants, you know they're ready to thrive. This spring, create a sanctuary of color and comfort with flowers from Olson's Greenhouse. Find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens or go to OGG.com to find a retailer near you. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Dave and Dujanovic. The following preview has been rated G and is appropriate for all audiences.
We're going to talk live right now to the movie show, guys. The big movie of the week is The Amateur. Here's the line they wrote for me to read. When his supervisors at the CIA refuse to take action after his wife is killed in a London terrorist attack, a decoder takes matters into his own hands.
Sign me up.
Charlie, I think you need to see this. Your wife has been killed. Let us handle this.
I want mission-specific training, cash, and a new identity.
Have you lost your mind?
I want to find and kill the people who murdered my wife.
You can't do what I do no matter how much I train you. You're just not a killer, Charlie.
Do you ever account for the things I'm good at?
We got a ping in Rome.
He's in London.
He just got on a bus in Prague.
He practically invented half of our surveillance. Maybe y'all misjudge this individual.
This feels like the nerd version of The Bourne Identity. Please tell me that is what I'm looking at, boys. Is this the nerd
That's
version?
That's a pretty good description.
Thanks a lot. I wrote like 14 paragraphs here, but that covered it all.
Even better.
No, here's the thing. If you can't imagine Rami Malek as a James Bond type, that's okay.
Yeah, because he ain't.
But here's the weird thing. I didn't really realize this until the movie was over. I was like, holy cow. They just sort of like gaslit me for this whole movie.
What do you mean?
Well, I just thought he was going to be like all, Bourne Identity on everybody.
No, he was completely
and he
out of
didn't.
But that's the whole point.
Well, I thought he would get the training and then he would cold and ruthlessly dispatch all of the people on whom he sought revenge.
Well, he apparently is smarter than everyone else in the room, that's for sure.
And if revenge is a dish best served cold,
it
is
Klingon?
very cold in the Bering Sea.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, I just came up with that one. Patent pending.
No,
but that's the thing. So you've got an Oscar winner, Rami Malek, in a spy thriller, and I actually thought it was pretty good. It's not perfect, but it was pretty good.
There's some moments in there where like, okay, who is the sociopath here now? Because you're starting to freak me out a little bit, and that finale was ridiculous.
It was a clever resolution.
Way more clever than it deserved to be, but. So that's the only thing that threw me off. Otherwise, it was pretty good.
But you know what? There's a lot of interesting things this week. There's like a little bit of something for everybody.
Really?
Yeah. We've got an animated version of Jesus' story from Angel Studios called The King of Kings that is told as an animated version of Charles Dickens is telling his animated little son the whole story. And the voice cast in this is going to blow your mind.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're talking Kenneth Branagh, Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, Uma Thurman, Mark Hamill, and Oscar Isaac is the voice of Jesus. This is an Angel Studios movie.
That's incredible.
How in the world did they get the possibly greatest voice compilation ever.
Well, you got the greatest story ever told, Dave.
There
Don't
you
you
go.
see the
Guys
greatest
love-
voice cast ever assembled?
When they don't have to be on screen and they can do just voice work, they'll be running to do this stuff.
Mark Hamill, though, is a really good voiceover guy.
Yeah, he is
like, I
great.
mean, he's Luke Skywalker, but he is a very accomplished voiceover artist as
Yeah,
well.
I'm trying to envision that. I'll have to go look at some of his work on that.
He's the Joker in the animated Batman series.
Oh.
So he has this kind
Phenomenal.
of evil,
Phenomenal.
fantastic voice. You never would have thought Luke Skywalker is the Joker, but he's fantastic.
Plus, Deb, we've got a movie that would go great on
Here he
Dating
goes.
at Her Age
Here he
podcast.
goes. Here he goes. He's gonna. He's.
Did you see this
You're
coming?
stereotyping me.
No, it's called Drop. It's called Drop
Okay.
because
It
it's
should have
about
been called The Worst Date Ever.
Oh, really?
a
Oh, I
woman
wanna
goes
definitely
on a
go see
date
this. Okay.
and somebody starts dropping messages onto her phone telling her she needs to kill her date and they'll kill her family if she doesn't comply.
What this is?
So talk about the worst first date ever.
This is twisted. I didn't see that coming.
That's why it's called Drop. Like you think it's like fall off a building. That is not what it's about. It's getting things airdropped, and she doesn't know who in the restaurant is doing it.
Well, there's a double entendre there because there's some dropping going on.
Well,
Is
that's
it
true.
so? Okay. Well, in the dating world, we call it dumped. You get dumped. Okay, so is this a thriller?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very tense at times.
It's tense. Oh.
Yes.
Instead
I'll
of a
have to see
whodunit, it's who's doing it.
Who doing it
Okay,
instead of
well.
who done it.
I'll have to get in the right mindset to go watch that movie then. I'm not sure that'll happen for me this weekend, but I will let you guys know when I see it and what I think of it.
Well, depending on how it does this weekend, you may not get a second
You might
chance.
wanna hurry.
I don't
Oh,
know.
I might hurry up. Okay.
Can I selfishly ask you about a show that I've been watching, hoping and waiting for a while?
Hang on, let me confer with Steve. Steve, are we okay with this?
I know what he's going to say, Warfare.
Yes,
okay.
that's exactly. Oh, you know me too well, Steve. All right, tell me about Warfare.
Holy crap.
That is the most intense 90 minutes of a movie that I've watched in a long time.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Not since the first 25 minutes of Saving Private Ryan have I been more horrified by a war movie that is so detailed and so determined to be accurate that I came out of that theater going, I don't even know what to say.
Okay.
So the Warfare director is actually a veteran, right? He served in Iraq, if I remember
Not
right.
only that, he was actually there when all this went down. This
wow.
is his story.
There's two directors on this movie. Alex Garland, who made Civil War last year.
But he's kind of he decided to kind of take a step back and let Ray Mendoza do this movie. And then the other guy that's there, he's one of the characters in the film. He was also on set to make sure everything was exactly as it was.
And I'll tell you what, war is the H word.
You mean heck?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, okay.
But it was
I'm in, guys.
intense. I saw it yesterday. It was intense, and boy, I had a different appreciation for people, an even greater appreciation for people who've served in combat than I have ever had.
Well, this is like a modern look, though. Like the lingo that they're talking about on the radio. I had no idea what they're saying, but they did.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
So, give us your the question of the week, so we can tee up your listeners to be thinking about this.
Okay, what's an obscure movie that you love, but nobody seems to know what the heck you're talking about when you mention it?
I got it. Oh, you guys, we only have like a minute and a half here, so Dave goes first.
Okay, Charlie Wilson's War with Tom Hanks.
Oh.
Okay,
Philip
you
Seymour
got me
Hoffman.
there.
Yeah, I know that movie. That's a good
I
movie.
love so many quotable
Is that the
lines.
sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
No, that is
Not even
definitely not the case. It is about funding the Afghanistan as they fight the Russians in the 80s, but it's a phenomenal movie. It's outstanding.
It's a great film.
Great lines. I quote it all the time. Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about.
All right, Deb, what do you got?
Vision Quest.
Ooh,
that's a fun
1980s.
Oh, I can't believe any of you know it.
Oh, I've heard of it. I've just never seen
Yeah, it's
Matthew Modine, isn't it?
Let's see. I can't remember. I'm looking it up.
It's the wrestling one, right?
Yeah, it's the wrestling one. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was just a great movie back then. Apparently, maybe I was one of the only one. I don't think it did so well in the box office, but yeah, I like that movie, and nobody ever knows. Like,
I
don't
thought
even
you
bring
meant
it up.
Galaxy Quest. I thought that was
No, the Galaxy
it's
Quest is
1985
great.
movie, Dave. I
But
think
Matthew,
like,
that's not
Linda
obscure.
Fiorentino, Matthew Modine, and Ronnie Cox was the dad.
it grossed it grossed $13 million. Oh, I don't know what that would be in
At the time.
today's dollars.
Like 14 million?
Yeah, like moderate success, it says. That's according to Wikipedia, though. But, okay, Andy, 30 seconds, and Steve, 20 seconds? Or however
Well,
you
I
want to
have
divide?
several, but the one I'll give you right now is called, it was Christopher Reeve, one of his final movies called Noises Off.
Oh, good film.
Never heard of it.
Exactly.
Yep,
but we'll
you're
tell you
right.
about it on the movie show. What about yours, Steve?
Mine, top of my list is probably Moon with Sam. It's Sam Rockwell in space. Multiplicity, Sam Rockwell in space. It's called Moon. It is a great movie.
You could not have hit deeper cuts. I've never heard of either of those movies. Outstanding. At least I've picked a show that someone's actually heard of.
Noises Off is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Oh, my goodness. That's great. All right. Look forward to the movie show. Andy, Steve, thank you so much. Look forward to it coming up right away.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales were live at NPS, and Steve has to put his headset on because he's enjoying the delicious donuts from Donut Kebab that are free today at the Layton location of NPS at 1150 North Main. Now, here's two ways you can get these free donuts. You can live in Layton or one of the cities around, and if that's the case, you'll have to show your license because we're not going to take any dishonest folk. They can come up, and they will give you free donuts as soon as you walk up. This is their gift to the people who live here around Layton. But let's say you want these donuts, and you should, because they're quite frankly delicious.
I just gulped down about it.
You can hear in Steve's mouth that he just barely finished chewing.
Stop.
But you can get it by coming and spending $50 in the store, and then they'll give you a coupon for it free. Oh, by the way, if you are a Layton resident, when you get the free donuts, then they give you a 10% off coupon for shopping here in NPS.
For everything you buy?
On your whole order when it's all done, then they'll take another 10% off. Honestly, you could walk out with a cart of groceries and whatever else you buy, and you'll struggle you'll fill it up and maybe not even hit $50.
True.
I mean, that's the kind of deals we got going on. The Layton store is so much fun. We've got deals going on today. Tell us a little bit about some of the deals today.
We do have Easter candy and stuff with Easter approaching quickly. We have some candy. We have the marshmallow eggs, 3 for 99 cents.
And then here, a wise thing to put on sale along with that. Because, when you give Easter baskets, you always put candy in, right?
Right.
And my parents always would throw in a toothbrush also.
A toothbrush, yes.
25% off toothbrushes.
Killjoys.
Yep.
Smart.
We have some promotions going on the collectible clothing as well. We have a rack of 70% off, and then we have some $10 collectible grabs just to, of clothing over there.
You know, what you think is collectible would be really high-end for me.
Higher-end clothing.
If you're
more
saying it's
designer,
collectible, I'm
more
trusting
designer.
you.
More
For
designer.
me, collectible is like, it's got sports on the front. I love it.
There could be some of that over there as well.
Superman logo.
A little higher than that.
A little higher than that.
Go higher.
But he flies pretty high, though.
True.
Well, but here's the great deals. Deals at the NPS right now, especially at the Layton store, 60% off clothing and accessories. So you've got the high-end stuff, some of it up to 70% off.
Correct, yes.
Now, this is already on top of the 30 to 70% savings that you have on everything every day.
Correct.
And this is so awesome because you have 20% off electronics, including TVs right now, toys, stuffed animals, because maybe you don't want to put candy in the kids' Easter basket. Maybe you want to put a toy in.
Right. 20%
20% off is what I'm looking at, and 25% off shoes, purses under $200, kitchen supply. These are all great ideas for gifts. You know what? Here's the other thing. You got summer season. You got all the birthday parties you got to take kids to.
Yeah.
Come get an awesome present. Win the gift-giving contest.
Dude, there's a golf net back there for $15.
Steve's birthday. He already bought it, so you can't give it to him. But I'm sure
I might need two,
golfer.
though, if you put them next to each other.
If you know a golfer, here's a chance to get this golf practice net for $15. That deal's good today and tomorrow only. NPS has 4 locations. Come say hi to us in Layton at 1150 North Main, or go to Salt Lake at 1600 South Empire Road, or Orem at 475 North State.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour. You can probably see a big plume of smoke on the west side of Salt Lake City if you're driving on I-15. There's a fire around 9th South and 32nd West that's expected to keep burning for days. Captain Brent Handcuff says about an acre of cars smashed and stacked on top of each other caught fire.
This facility here has large acreage, so water supply has been a challenge. We're utilizing their private hydrants that are on site. However, those are a fair distance away from the fire, so we're using a process called relay pumping, where we pump from one engine to another and then into those trucks so that we have a good elevated stream.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The people and the experts are on the same page when it comes to economic uncertainty.
BlackRock's Larry Fink on CNBC says the U.S. is very close to a recession and may be in one now. What do the people think? Consumer sentiment fell 11% since last month, the 4th monthly drop in the University of Michigan survey, and it's unanimous across age, income, education, geography, and political affiliation. President Trump cheerleading on Truth Social this morning, saying the U.S. is doing really well in our tariff policy. Very exciting for America and the world. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
In your money at this moment, the Dow is up 376 points, the S&P up 57, and the NASDAQ up 200 points. Coming up, the perfect day to have a picnic. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Everyone needs a checking account, so get the one with built-in benefits to complement your unique lifestyle. Mountain America's